1930s, bringing with him this style of architecture. Today we call this the international style of design. It is famous for its simplicity. Notice little to no ornamentation. This perfectly reflects Mies van der Rohe's personal philosophy towards architecture: less is more. Now, Mies van der Rohe was a teacher in our city. He taught that international style, and he taught his less is more philosophy at the Illinois Institute of Technology. But not all of his students agreed with him. One student that disagreed was Bertrand Goldberg. He built right next door. Bertrand Goldberg said, "No right angles in nature. There's going to be no right angles in my architecture. This is Marina City, or the corn cobs of the Midwest, if you know." They are famous for the two 60-story cylindrical towers, which together have 896 pizza-shaped apartments, referring to them starting out narrow and widening as you walk into them. Marina City were the first residential towers along the Chicago River, built at a time when no one really lived downtown, the mid-60s. They are designed as a city within a city. They opened up with your apartment, parking garage, boat marina, restaurant, grocery store, bowling alley, 10-story office building, health club, radio station, and even a theater. We now call that the House of Blues. The building and the design of it was designed so your entire life could almost take place in one city block. Up next, take a look off on your right. Everybody feel free to wave. Wave, guys. Yes. There's something very special about being on a boat, waving to a bunch of people not on boats. They're missing out and now they know it. That's Portofino's Pizzeria, RPM Seafood, and above that, the American Bar Association building, home of course of the American Bar Association, that consists largely of lawyers and not bartenders. Learned that last year from a Will and Grace episode. Up next on the right-hand side, 1912, George Nimitz. This is the Reid Murdoch Center. There are original red brick masonry and terracotta ornamentation, 6 bays of windows to the right-hand side of that clock tower, but there are only 5 off to the left. The building was first designed symmetrically, 6 and 6, but the left-hand side had one of its bays removed. The building was then squished back together to make room for the widening of the LaSalle Street Bridge, which we're heading underneath right now. Today it's home to River Roast and The Kitchen, 2 great restaurants, Whirlpool headquarters, and Encyclopedia Britannica headquarters. Up next on your right, 300 North LaSalle, Picard and Chilton, 2009. This glass tower stands 784 feet tall, and it is LEED certified Platinum. Now, LEED stands for Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design. It is a point system they use to measure the green standard of buildings. Platinum type is our highest certification awarded. It is entirely built out of recycled materials. Next door is a former coffee storage facility, now home to Clinical Furniture, Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and on top, DIRT. Spelled with 2 T's, an acronym. Stands for Do It Right This Time. It's an interior design company focusing on problem solving and solutions. Next door here, you guys are correct in your first assumptions. This building is very big. This is a merchandise mart. Opened up in 1931. Great example of Art Deco. Notice an Indiana limestone facade, strong vertical orientation, setbacks near the top, geometric shapes throughout. When this building opened up in 1931 at 4.1 million square feet, it was the largest concrete structure in the world. The Hoover Dam has less concrete than this building. It was first used as a way to consolidate 14 warehouses for Marshall Fields. So it opened up with 500 showrooms, had 8 miles of corridors, sits on a 5-acre plot, and up into the late 90s, that building had its own zip code. It was bought by the Kennedy family in 1945 for $13 million. The Kennedys resold it in 1998 for $575 million. Yes, they call that a good investment. During that process, they held on to Wolf Point, the plot of land off on your right, now being developed by the Kennedy family and their associates. We have Wolf Point East right here, a 600-foot tall residential tower. Wolf Point West is on the other end of the construction site. That is a 500-foot tall, also residential tower. We'll see that shortly. But the construction site itself is going to be known as Salesforce Tower. It will be their signature South Tower, set to stand over 800 feet tall. It's going to be a commercial building. This is also the place where Chicago got her start. In the 1830s, our city's population was growing very quickly, and it was moving here to Wolf Point, where we had our first bridge across the river, ferries across the river, homes, businesses, churches, and of course, our first bars were right here as well. It was in one of those bars that after a couple of shots, we threw up a tankard of beer called our city Chicago, a word we got from the indigenous words for the area. This is how. Off on your right-hand side, Riverbank Loft, 1909 by George, and it makes a great example of adaptive reuse. A fun, fancy phrase that means we changed the purpose of the building. It used to be the Wallace Business Forum printing facility that made things like invoices, but then internet and computers became obsolete. We turned the building into bricks, reflecting the long, flat line of the horizon on the prairie. Prairie styles emphasize the horizontal rather than the Art Deco vertical. Now the domain here used to be Montgomery Ward's warehouse. If it was in the catalog and it was a 500-page catalog, it would have been in this building. Anywhere from kitchenware to clothes. They debuted things there such as electricity, the very first Ferris wheel, the brownie, the belly dance, the zipper, and my personal favorite, the first automatic dishwasher. We had a Second World's Fair here in 1933. Century of Progress World's Fair was held on what is now the museum campus. It was greatly successful amidst the Great Depression, held for 2 consecutive years, and we do have remnants of that left over. Today the museum campus holds Field Museum, Adler Planetarium, and the John G. Shedd Aquarium. Alrighty, that brings us up to date with history. We're going to jump back into architecture. From here on out, all the buildings off on the right-hand side are built on top of or near active railroad tracks. Off on your right, we have the Upside Down building. This is 150 North Riverside.
Wala, diha na lang ta mga open ba? Anak, ano ba? Night market.
Naka-barbecue. Murag dili mo here. No?
Ka-shopping na oh. Taga Bitbit ra na siya.